Hello, Year 6, soon to the Year 7. I'm Mr. Ladley. I know by this point most of you have already met me, be that coming into your schools or on our numeracy feast day, or actually, I'm currently recording it on the Friday of transition day, so actually a lot of you have probably seen me today, this morning, or yesterday. I'm recording this video to show you a little bit of information, share a little bit of information with you about a website we use at St. Patrick's called MathsWatch. Now, if you've got siblings that are already at St. Patrick's, you may well have seen it from them already. Now, MathsWatch is a website that the school pays us quite a lot of money for because we think it's something that can really help people like you and students all the way up to Year 11, help them with their maths work. Now, I'm going to be showing a little bit of information with you, but the first thing I want to do is actually show you what the website looks like. So I've written down the web address there, the ble.mathswatch.co.uk. Now, yes, you can type that in, or you can just go on Google and type in MathsWatch. Now, everyone, I've created for you a username. So a unique username and password. For most people, it's their first initial followed by their surname at SPRCHS, which I'm sure the most astute amongst you could figure out stands for St. Patrick's Roman Catholic High School. Your password is SPRCHS, so the same thing. Now, that's almost always the case. The only time that isn't the case is occasionally if there's two people with the same initial surname. Sometimes you get brothers or sisters in the same school who they've both got the same initial surname. So then in that case, it will usually be your initial surname followed by the number 1. So for example, mine, I'm Mr. Ladley. My initial is S, so it'd be S Ladley at SPRCHS. And my password will be SPRCHS. Mine's not actually that because I don't have a student account, but that's the idea. Most common mistake there is people put a dot after their initial, so no dots. So I'm just going to show you what that would look like. So I'm just going to share screen, switch to Google. I'm just going to show you this. I'm going to type in MathsWatch. First website that comes up, I can click on that and I can log it. So actually that's what my address is, but let's say if it was otherwise, it'd be sladley at SPRCHS and my password would be SPRCHS. If my name was Robert Bradley, then it would be R Bradley at SPRCHS. So it'd be R Bradley at SPRCHS. So your class teacher will have your login information for you. I've emailed that to all of your teachers, so they'll have that information for you. Although it will always follow that pattern. So if it doesn't work with your initial surname, try it with the number 1 after it. The only exception to that is some people who have sort of double barrel names, you might have the hyphen in there, so it's just worth double checking your teacher about that. So I'm just going to show you now what MathsWatch looks like. So MathsWatch website, when you log in, it'll look something like this. Actually, I should log in as a student, apparently. Just going to log in using a student account just to show you what that would look like for you, because it'll be slightly different for everyone. So for me, I have all my classes up there. Now, I'm just going to log in as using the guest account. Oops. SPRCHS. So this is what a student account looks like. If I can type. Obviously, I'm not very good at typing and talking at the same time. So this is what your account will look like when you sign in. So if once you're at St. Patrick's, it might be the teacher starts setting you certain homeworks and things like that on here, in which case when you sign in, you'll have a signed work shown there. Now, that's one way to use MathsWatch. The way we're mainly encouraging you to be using MathsWatch is to work independently. So it might be that you know from being in primary school there's something you struggled with. It might be you want to go away and do a little bit extra work for that. Or it might be that there's some area of maths that you're particularly interested in that you want to go away and look at how we can make that a little bit harder. So a couple of ways of doing that here. So we can click on videos. You should be qualifications for Key Stage 3, because that's what you're going to be in when you join. It was in September. And down here, I've got all the different topics which you're going to cover at Key Stage 3. Now, we can filter this by a couple of things. We can filter this by level. So I'll talk a little bit more about what that means in a second. Or you can filter it by topic. So it might be that you've done a little bit of algebra at primary school and you want to have a look at what more algebra looks like, for example. So it might be that we filter down. The way it tends to work is starting at the beginning, the topics at the start are the easier ones, and as you scroll down to the bottom, it gets to the harder ones. So with every topic like this, there'll be a video. So there'll be a video like this one, which is 3 minutes 15. I can play that, and there'll be an explanation of that topic. So within that, there'll be a video where the MathsWatch lady explains about the topic and gives us a few questions and a few examples. So that's really useful if you need to recap that topic. The other part of MathsWatch, which is really useful, is this up here where it says interactive questions. Now, the interactive questions is something we can do that gives us different questions. We can fill in our answers here. So, for example, the quadrant of A, hopefully most of us will know that, would be 0, 7, and I can submit my answer. So I've got the first one right, I've got the second one wrong because I haven't filled anything in. So really useful actually, these interactive questions, because what they do is they allow us to test yourself. Do you know how to do this topic? If you can answer them and you get them right, then you know you're getting them correct. You know you're doing them right and then you can do the topic. Now the questions are split into standard questions and harder questions. So along the top here, there's options to look at some harder questions. So we get on some more problem-solving questions, some of the ones that might be you're more likely to see if you want to challenge yourself. So that's a good example of what would be a great thing for you to have as an option to do when you're looking at wanting to make a topic a little bit harder. So that's one thing you can do. You can filter by topic and scroll through that. The other thing you can do is if you know you struggle with, I don't know, factors, you can type in the word factors and it comes up again with the topic there. You've got the video, you've got the interactive questions. The other thing you've actually also got is a worksheet here. Worksheets are great, but the problem with the worksheet is it doesn't mark it for you. So I would recommend the interactive questions be the most useful thing for you. Now, once you've explored the videos a little bit and once you've seen what they look like, you can click on this next part, which is My Progress. Now, My Progress will be individual for you and it'll tell you how many topics you've watched, how many questions you've answered, how many skills you've acquired, and how many skills you've mastered. That means how many, if there's any topics where you've done all the questions. And actually, this will give us a load of information about what you've already done. So in September, that's something we could look at as a school and see what you've done. Now, let me just emphasize at this point, we are not as a school saying you have to be doing loads of MathsWatch over summer. This is simply here as a tool. It might be something that your primary school teacher decides you're going to use a little bit in the last few weeks of term. It might not. It might be something where if you're a little bit nervous about starting maths in September at St. Patrick's, this is the sort of thing you could do just to help yourself, build yourself up with a little bit of confidence. Because when you first come in, we're going to be looking at a few topics in school and maybe doing some assessments just to figure out where you're at. So this is the sort of thing you could be doing just to prepare for that a little bit. Again, there's no pressure from us to be doing that. It's just something that you might choose to do to better prepare yourself or build up your confidence a little bit for September. So now that we've seen the website, I'm just going to go back to my slides and just give you a bit more information. So we know about our logins, initial, surname, at SBRCHS. The teacher should be able to give you those. And I've already spoken a little bit about how we can use that. So for us, we've got a big emphasis at secondary school about independent work. So it might be that you're in year 7, you've come up to a new topic, you've struggled with it a little bit, and so you go away and do that little bit of work to make sure that you can do it by the time you're seeing it again. It might be that in your homework, because you're going to have a similar set of 20 questions a week that you do, it might be something that you keep getting wrong in your homework. So again, we'd be directing you to MathsWatch to improve on that, to practice that and find out how to do it. We'll also give you sheets after every time you do a test that will direct you to anything you've got wrong on your test. MathsWatch will be something you could look at them to help you with that. So what I've already mentioned as well, we can also use it to extend our learning to the topic you're interested in, or if there's a topic you think you've been good at and you want to look at how you can make it harder, if you want to look at some of those problem-solving questions, which are the harder questions at the end that I've just pointed out. But yeah, something that we can be using that will be encouraging. And that's something we encourage people to use all the way through to year 11. So the better habits you can get into now at this stage, in year 7 or even a little bit before it, the better for us. And that is genuinely something that really makes a big difference when you start looking at exams and start looking at how to revise. And MathsWatch is a great tool for that. I mentioned briefly on the website there's 4 different levels. So there's emerging, expected, exceeding, and excelling. So essentially that goes from easy to hard. So the topics are kind of split into that. Now, I would honestly say at this stage, nobody really should be looking at excelling because that's really excelling at Key Stage 3. So really that's something we'd maybe be looking more at in year 8 and 9. Not to say you can't look at it, but I'd just say, just be aware it's probably not the most appropriate for you. I've suggested to class teachers that they maybe direct you towards what level might be most suited for you. So if you're just working more generally through it and just doing a bit of preparation, it might be that your teacher can direct you to where you should be looking. So that's something you could ask them about. If not, I'd be looking at maybe around focusing on expected level, because I'll just give you a bit of a recap of some of the things we're going to be looking at in September when you start with us here. Now, another thing I can do is I could give you a couple of suggestions. So if I tell you now that the first topics we're going to be looking at is a bit of a recap of number. So things like factors, which is N10. So when you're on MathsWatch, in that search bar, you can type the word factors in, or you can type in click number N10. Similarly, multiples, or highest common factor, lowest common multiples. It might be that your class teachers could suggest a couple of topics to have a look at. But again, there's no pressure from us or any particular expectation of what you're doing here. This is just an opportunity for those who want to take it. So, I think I've said everything I want to say in terms of ability to use MathsWatch. Now, I know I've been into schools and I still might be coming into a couple of primary schools over the next couple of weeks. So if you do have any questions about that, feel free to ask me. Your class teachers will also have an email from me. So if they have any questions, or if you have any questions that you ask them and they're not sure about, they can still ask me those questions. So I'd encourage you to have a look. Like I said, there's no pressure or expectation from us. You're not going to be getting in trouble if you've not done anything on MathsWatch. However, we do look at that in September, and there will potentially be some prizes for people who've managed to use that the most. I'll also be checking it over the next couple of weeks and sending a few emails just to certain primary schools and say so-and-so has done loads on MathsWatch already at home independently. So if you do have any questions, pass them on to class teachers to get to pass on to me. But other than that, I hope you good luck. Enjoy the rest of your time in primary school. Have a look at MathsWatch. Hopefully it's something that you find useful, and it's something that we'll be looking to see who's done what in September and potentially offering some prizes. And other than that, it's just a case of, well, I look forward to seeing you in September and meeting you all in person, those of you who I haven't met already. Okay, thank you very much.